Deep within, you know that the relationship with the very person who's supposed to love you unconditionally is the one that makes you feel unlovable.
You look around and most people will tell you that the most important relationship in their life is the one that they have with their parent. And if you admit that you don't have that, then what does it leave you with? Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am wrong. But in most dysfunctional homes, rather than the parents go in, yeah, you're right, that was a nightmare last night, sorry. Most parents will go, I thought you loved your dad. So then it equates to, if I'm angry with somebody, it means I love them less. And when you finally become yourself, what you'll find is most people do the very thing that you've been terrified of your whole life, which is abandon you because they were only around because you had no boundaries.
Our guest today is Josh Connolly, a leader who isn't afraid to break taboos and talk about the parts of family life that many would prefer to hide.
He's an ambassador for NACOA UK, an author of It's Them, Not You, and a leading voice on healing from toxic parents, family dysfunction, and the weight of unspoken childhood trauma.
He's also a pioneer in breathwork and someone who isn't afraid to talk about the emotions we were taught to suppress. Hello, welcome to a new episode of Horrible Families,
Familias Horribles.
I am Alicia.
And I'm Mariana, and today we are joined by Josh Connolly. We're so excited to talk to you, to have you here joining us in Horrible Families. Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yes. Josh is someone who is making waves around the world by speaking openly about what most people are too afraid to say. We're not afraid to say those things either.
Yes.
So welcome, Josh, again. So I would like to start by reading a little bit of the introduction of your book, because Josh has published this amazing book, It's Them, Not You, How to Break Free from Toxic Parents and Reclaim Your Story. In Spanish, you have it in Spanish, people, go and buy it. And those that speak English, go and buy it, because this is gold here, okay? So in Spanish is, son ellos, no tú. ¿Cómo liberarte de padres tóxicos y reclamar tu historia? So,
do you want me to read it?
Oh, yeah, you read, because this is the good accent.
Okay, so your book starts like this, and we couldn't help but want to read exactly how it starts. You feel desperately alone. You know something in your life isn't right, but you dare not speak it aloud. Deep within, you know that the relationship with the very person who's supposed to love you unconditionally is the one that makes you feel unlovable.
Yeah. It was very personal to me, Josh, because I grew up like that. It is a very, very, very hard place to grow in. So why is it so difficult for people to even name their reality out loud?
I think, look, it's a deep question. I think in this instance, the reason it's so hard is because when you are a child, your parents are essentially your God, right? You rely entirely on them. We are wired to attach to them, because if we don't attach to them, we wouldn't survive, right? If you think of a baby when it's born, its only way to survive, even in the world today, is to attach to your parents. And so for those initial years, at least, like particularly the first 3 or 4 years, your survival is dependent upon your attachment to them, irrespective of who or what they are. Your survival is dependent on that. And then your next few years of life is a process of separating and developing your own sense of self. And so if you grow up with somebody that's toxic and horrible, you can just see, how much of a mess that's going to become, right? And so it's very difficult to detach from the very thing that you have. It's not even, it's deeper than believed, right? It's not that you believed that, you formed your whole sense of self around that. And so when you start to realize the reality, what you are, what you are actually pushing and forcing yourself to have to do is to break free from the thing that you believed kept you alive in order for you to stay alive, right? It's like you have
Yes.
to,
Right.
in order to get onto the life raft, you have to jump off of the very life raft that you've lived on all your life, right? So it's a big leap. So I think it's hard. I think it's hard for that reason, if you look at it like as a core reason. But then when you look at all the cultural beliefs that we add in around that as well,
Yeah.
I think that deepens it even further, because you look around and most people will tell you that the most important relationship in their life is the one that they have with their parent. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you admit that you don't have that, then what does it leave you with?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are many of us that have been their whole life or several decades to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 56 years old and I got there not so long ago. I tried different times, but when I really was able to make that step was not so long ago.
Mm.
But it takes away too much of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you also talk about a little after that introduction that you grow up with this darkness inside of you and thinking that there's no exit, that you're lost and you don't even really know who you are. So, how does all of what you just explained lead to that also in adulthood?
I think the best thing to say is that you're supposed to develop your sense of self under the loving gaze of a parent who loves you through every single part of who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're born of value. We are born essentially love. And the job of our parent, our caregiver, whoever it is that's in our life from the second that we are born, is to mirror love back at us through every single one of our experiences to help us discover the sense of who we truly are. If you grew up with somebody who is toxic and horrible, they didn't mirror back anything at you. They saw you as an extension of themselves. And so they began, consciously or not, to mold you into something that they needed you to be. So you lose the sense of who you are instantly. You disconnect from love, right? You disconnect from your value and you start to shape that sense of self around the toxic and horrible parent, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so once you've shaped your sense of self around that, and then you start at some point in your life to realize the very thing that you've shaped your sense of self around is perhaps a toxic, not very nice person, then you're left with this void. You're left with this gaping dark hole of like, who am I away from this then? Right?
Yeah.
If I admit that my parent never had the ability to love me, who the hell am I?
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. You realize that when you are advancing to say something, when you have been healing for a long time and you can integrate many things, you realize that you have been seeing the world through their eyes. You have been trying to feel how they feel. You hear things the way they hear them to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose yourself in all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I'm just curious because as I'm hearing you talk, I hear, and also in the name of your book, you use the word toxic because there's a lot of different ways that people describe or label these sorts of parents or types of people. And I'm just curious if there's a reason why you use the word toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. I purposely used the word toxic.
Mhm.
I purposely use it. There's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason is, if I was to say, because what I'm ultimately talking about is abusive parents,
Yeah.
yes.
but most people that need to read the book would see a title about abusive parents and think, well, that's not me, right? My parents weren't abusive. And so
Oh, I get it.
when you
Okay.
say toxic, then people go, oh, okay, yeah, my parent maybe has some toxic behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you say abusive, it closes the door for a lot of people. You know, I
True.
think realizing that what you experienced is emotional abuse actually comes a few stages into your journey, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I don't say abusive. And then look, there's a bunch of other labels that we could say. I'm often in a lot of cases talking about narcissism, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But to me, it's about having a word that can be open to interpretation
Okay.
uh, um because otherwise you'll get toxic and horrible people will hide, right? And they'll find a reason why
Yeah.
they're not a
Yeah.
narcissist. Well, I'm not a narcissist because this and this. And I'm just like, ultimately I think you can call them whatever you want to call them, right? But
Horrible families.
horrible families, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll often hear me say, by the way, and that's not just because of the name of your podcast, I'll often
Mhm.
say toxic and horrible people because I
Yeah.
think that's
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, for me that's the best descriptive word to use for them, right?
Yeah.
um and there is also, just as you say it, some people say to me, or one of the things people often say to me is, well, you shouldn't really call them toxic, right? Maybe they're human beings with toxic behaviors, right? And I'm like, nah, I think if somebody's toxic all the time, I can call them toxic. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and people go, well, you know, toxic people don't exist. They're just, you know, human beings with toxic behaviors. And I'm like, what, do you think you're a good person? And most people say, yeah, I think I'm a good person. I'm like, well, why is that then? Well, because you're
Oh.
generally a good person. Yeah. So, right. Okay. If you're generally a good person, I'll call you a good person. If you're generally horrible, I'll call you horrible. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the reality. And,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know, sometimes we need to call things what they are, es-
Oh,
Mhm.
especially to people that have grown up in an environment where they're forced to never call things what they are and to hide from the truth and the reality. So yeah,
For sure.
that's why I use the term, like very purposely
Yeah.
use the term. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we identify with that definitely with the name of our podcast. I mean, I think it's important to keep it as accessible as possible and not close those doors like you said,
Mm,
because the people who really need this information would get spooked by certain words.
mm,
yeah.
And
And they are
yeah.
looking for a diagnosis. Oh,
Mhm.
is it my father's a psychopath or is it my mom a narcissist? So they get stuck because they want to know if they have a they need those labels.
Yeah,
Why?
and that can also actually open the door for more hyper empathy because then
mhm.
you're getting into the realm of, oh, is it a mental illness? Am I supposed to be taking care of them? Should I
Yes.
feel bad for them? And
Should I
it
be more patient? Poor things they went through so much when they were young. So I love the
yeah,
explanation that you just gave us because it opens the door. It's true.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's, you know, some things perhaps need labels. I prefer descriptions. And so toxic and
mm,
horrible, toxic, these are not really labels, they're descriptions.
Yes, yes,
You know
yes,
mm,
what I
yes.
mean? And like you
yeah,
say, if you say somebody's a narcissist, then it's like, okay, well, it becomes another sort of condition. It's another get out. And I'm like, no,
true.
I'm just calling you toxic because I think how you're behaving is toxic.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think it's important to say stuff like that to
Yes,
yeah,
people that have experienced it.
yes, but it's hard to diagnose someone with a proper diagnosis. Okay, you have
Narcissistic personality disorder or
Blah, blah, blah.
antisocial.
So they're waiting for that. When you use toxic, it opens that, okay, there's something wrong here. I feel terrible. I am scared. I feel that there's no exit. Let me see what's going on here.
Yeah.
So it lets people, it doesn't scare you, because it has happened to us when we have a workshop or that has a certain words. People get, oh no, I have never been abused. I didn't know I was abused.
Yeah.
I realized that when I was in my late 40s.
Yeah.
I never imagined, but then when I went after years in therapies, when I start putting the names on it. So
Yeah, and you hear it all the time, right? I'll be, you
Yeah.
know, and I hear people describe their experiences all the time, right? And people will say to me, you know, you hear it with, it's similar with the word like trauma, because people will say, you know, people will go, well, there was nothing in, I had a really good childhood. My parents were loving, they were great people, there was no problems. My dad was an alcoholic and used to, you know, smash the house up every now and then. And then you're like, that doesn't, like, because we're so used to convincing ourselves that what we're experiencing is normal. The amount of times I hear people say nothing happened in my childhood and then go on to describe some horrific things that happened in their childhood. And then, you know, you very quickly say to them, you know, if you've got children, and if they say, yeah, you say, can you imagine if you smashed the house up in front of your 4-year-old child? How do you think they would feel? And like people, I did the same. My dad was an alcoholic. I used to say my dad used to drink a bit too much, but you know, he was a good man when he was sober, and he died when I was 9 years old, but I don't really remember it. None of those things were true. These were narratives that I used to protect myself. And so like I started volunteering with a charity called NACOA, which is the National Association for Children of Alcoholics. I walked into there when I was about a year sober, 25, stopped drinking myself, was working on myself, looking at myself. And when I didn't realize I was the child of an alcoholic when I went there. I didn't go there because I'm the child of an alcoholic. I went there because I was an alcoholic who had stopped drinking. I was like, oh, I'm not the child of an alcoholic. My dad died when I was a kid. I don't remember him. And then I did the training and was like, oh, of course I'm the child of an alcoholic. Like, my dad was there till I was like 9 years old. And then you go, 9 years old's not like too young to remember stuff. It's like, it's actually crazy that I used to tell myself that and not think anything of it, you know? So I do think it's important to give people, well, I always say to try and speak in a language that people understand.
Exactly.
You know, that gives people, you know, a starting place to explore. That's important. Yeah.
How incredible. I mean, how that survival, how we normalize to be able to exist because otherwise, I don't know. So going back to what we were talking about, how do we begin to rebuild a self when who we were was never allowed to exist?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the things that I would say is that when you start rebuilding who you truly are, it's going to feel desperately uncomfortable at the beginning. When you start to do things that should be normal, like saying no. Let's use that as an example, right? You say to me, do you want to come to this social event on Saturday? I don't want to come, right? So I say, no, thank you. My body, even doing that now, I'm like, oh no, I'd have to make up a reason at least. I'd have to make up, I always need to make up a bit of a bigger lie as why I can't come because I can't get childcare and my nan's sick, right? Because I've got to make something else up, right? So it's about practicing saying, no, sorry, I'm relaxing Saturday. I've done a lot of socializing this week. I'm relaxing Saturday. You know, it's starting to really step into a sense of who we are. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that we see out there that is just new ways to people please, new ways to make yourself acceptable and lovable. And you know, what I try and tell people is like, you stop making yourself lovable. Stop it.
Oh.
I don't want you to be lovable, right? I don't want you to try and be lovable. I want you to be yourself. Be yourself unapologetically. And as a result of that, you will find people that love you. And as a result of them finding those people that love you from being yourself, you'll realize you've always been lovable. But it's not about finding a new way to make yourself lovable. It's about daring to be yourself and trusting that you will find people that show you that you're lovable. And that will happen to everybody if you do that, unless you're horrible.
I love it,
Oh my
love it,
God.
love it. No, the way you have explained this right now is amazing. It's perfect. Because yes, okay, you start learning how to set boundaries, but then you are not realizing that you are finding other ways unconsciously to be lovable, still being lovable.
Yeah.
You will say no, but with a extensive explanation, justifying yourself. So you are trying to be lovable. You just, instead of saying, no, thank you, I don't want to go. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Period.
Or when you're meeting new people, right? And this is like revolutionary to some of us because it was to me. But when I'm meeting new people, say I meet somebody and they say, I really like this style of music, right? My normal thing is to go, oh, me too. Yeah, I really get used to going, that's not my favorite. I like this style of music.
Exactly. Oh my
I can
God.
feel myself getting hot thinking about it because I'm just so used to becoming who you want me to be, to make sure that you like me, to make sure that I'm acceptable, to make sure that I'm lovable. So these things start to feel really painful where you're just able to go, no, that's not who I am. Or no, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. Or here's what I like. Here's what I'm into. It's just being able to bring who you truly are after a lifetime of self-abandonment. Because that's what
Yeah.
you lived. You lived a life of self-abandonment.
I love it. I love it. And when you finally get there, the freedom you feel.
Yeah.
The free it's like it's such a huge weight of your body.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I get there. I can't talk about it like that yet. I'm even getting emotional while you're explaining all of this because I have horrible imposter syndrome. I never feel like I'm enough, and I don't I think this word really hit me, that I don't feel lovable when I'm myself. And I guess I'm just thinking about the people that are watching us that feel that way, and they're like, okay, now I need to start trying to just behave as myself, but it feels so uncomfortable. What would you say to the people, to me, how to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable doing those things, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Firstly, I really resonate with what you're saying, right? Because this has been my life's journey, and let me just caveat by saying before I give an answer to your question, I will give lots of good answers when you interview me. That does not mean that I'm doing it good in life, right? I can talk about it really well.
That's the same with us.
Yeah, but let me just say to you and everybody listening, I ain't there yet, right? I'm telling you the ultimate ideals and the ultimate practices. Do not put me on a pedestal and think Josh is doing, because I am, right? I'm just good at talking about it. One thing that I think is try and find new communities. Now, what I mean by new communities, it doesn't have to be a specific community online. It could be like a yoga club that you've never been to, and there's a bunch of new people there that you probably don't know. Might be a gym class, a running class. All my things are sports related. I don't know, a games class, a library thing, right? I don't know, but something that you're interested in, that you really like, that not that everybody else likes, right? Not that you think people would like you to like, but something that you like, right? And then go there and start to just practice when you're there, just gently remembering the way that you've been, your life has kept you safe. So it's not bad that you've done it, it's kept you safe. And just gently practice giving true answers and
Mm.
just being with the discomfort of it, you know? And slowly over time, you do start to realize, wow, that was uncomfortable, but I'm okay with it, you know? And you will find, and this is what makes it really hard. Society wants you to try and be lovable too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Society doesn't want you to be yourself. Society wants you to be acceptable and how it wants you to be. I would argue, and I'm not just saying this because you both happen to be women, I would argue there's even more pressure from society for women to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're not, then there's, you know, you will find yourself labeled something really quickly. But like, I find it a lot in my life today, even as a man. I'm trying to think of an example. If people say phone, they'll phone me. I say, don't phone me because I won't answer. And they're like,
Mm.
what? I'm like, I don't answer phone calls. I don't talk on the phone.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? Yeah, but I've told you I'm going to phone. I'm like, no, I don't care. Don't phone me. Right?
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a thing with phone calls. I don't need a reason why. I just don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're so used to like societal norms and doing as we're told, it's uncomfortable when we put forward what we truly care about, you know, and just, you know, practicing that. I've had to do it with loads of stuff. I'm trying to think of examples. I'm really into it's a silly example. I'm really into perfume, men's perfume, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, but it's quite strange in our culture to go up to a man and say, "You smell really nice. What are you
Mm.
wearing?" But practicing doing stuff like that and then being like, "I just really like scents, and it's
Yeah.
really nice to do that." Like these are
Yeah.
just silly examples, but it's practicing. To answer the
Yeah.
question, it's a very long way of answering your question, I know, but just practice. Give yourself some grace to try it
Yeah.
while remembering that what you've done up until this point is not wrong, failure, or bad. In fact, it's kept you surviving to now. How do you gently start to lean into these other things, you know?
No, it's so true. Thank you for that. And I know that it'll help a lot of people that are watching too. Um I think it's essentially exposure therapy. It's just doing
Exactly.
things very little by little and exposing yourself to that discomfort until certain things aren't uncomfortable anymore, and then you move on to the next sort of uncomfortable thing, and before you know it, you're being yourself more of the time,
Yeah.
especially compared to before.
Yeah. And I think you then when you attract people, your friends, right? So if you say like you went to this new yoga club or whatever it was, and then you really
Mhm.
did practice being yourself, and then you realized you still make friends, but actually
Mhm.
these friends aren't people that you need to keep up a pretense with because you've made them based on who you are.
Yeah.
That then I can even feel as I'm saying it, wow, that's when I meet people who get me, they understand me. Yeah. And I don't have to be
Yeah.
anything. Then I feel lighter saying it. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I get to be around my people. And this is like part of what I'm saying. When we develop a healthy sense of self, we're actually less likable to everybody because we're not supposed to be liked by everybody, but we find our people. And it's your people that you
Mm.
want to find. You don't want to be liked by everybody. You want to find your people.
Yeah.
That is so important to talk about.
Mm,
And I think it's something that a lot of people struggle to accept, is that they won't be liked by everybody.
mm.
So can you explain that a little more?
Because when we develop our sense of self, right,
Mhm.
like we've already talked about when we're kids, we do it based on what other people think of us, right? Our whole sense of self. Like I always say, when I first started this journey of realization of what I am and who I am, like I didn't even know who I was away from what you wanted me to be. So if you said, "Who are you?" I'd be like, I don't, I don't know who you want me to be. Tell me, and I'll do it. I'm really good at that. But how do I start to develop this sense of self? Well, actually, you know, it has to be rooted in first. finding some acceptance of who I am. So we can do that. We can do that on our own, by the way. So I do a lot, like spend time on your own. I saw a meme recently online, but I thought it was quite interesting. But I'll give you a slight variation on the meme. But the meme said, imagine an orange turned up to a group of apples, and the apples said to the orange, oh, look, this has got maladjusted apple syndrome, because they just looked at it and thought you're completely different, right? But you're supposed to be like us. Like sometimes we've got to remember who we are and stand proud and be like, this is who I really am, right? Rather than thinking that I need to be something in relationship to other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like, you know, really spend time with yourself and on your own and getting clear on what you like and what you love and what that looks like, you know, and then going out and trying to share that with the world. It's not easy. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy, especially when you grow up in a horrible family where you are not allowed to be yourself at all. And that's why one of the talks that I do starts with the question, what part of yourself did you have to kill to be a good daughter or a good son? I had to disappear. And most of the people that are listening to us had to do the same somehow. Otherwise, we couldn't be, punishment of all kinds, right?
Well, you wouldn't survive.
No.
Your survival in this world was dependent upon that thing, the bit you had to disappear, you know?
Exactly.
You know, and I loved, it's such a powerful question, by the way, what part did you have to kill? Because healing is like, how do we bring those parts of you back to life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and like, if you think of the spectrum of what you will have experienced when you were a child. So if you had a toxic parent, for the people that are listening, you might have had a toxic parent that told you, you're too loud, you should shut up, stop being so loud, right? You like, nobody wants to hear you, disgusting. And every time you were loud, you got told off for it. So you learned to be quiet, right? Because when you were quiet, you were acceptable. But maybe you're just a loud person, right?
Yep.
So there's the overt stuff. So the really obvious stuff like that when you start to look at it. But then there's the kind of like covert stuff as well. So maybe that's much more subtle. So imagine if I just had an emotionally immature parent. So when I was a child, say if every time I was upset, I noticed subconsciously at least, but below the surface, I got the signal that my mum, she didn't hug me the same when I was sad, because she couldn't be with sadness, because she had her own sadness and she was running away from it, right? So there's this real subtle, if I was really happy and came home from school and she put her arms around me and be like, yeah, I love you so much, you're so great, yeah? And if there was a subtle shift that when I was crying, it was sort of a pat on the back and like, come on, you're all right. You're all right. Yeah, you can see then I start to get the message that I'm not as lovable when I'm sad.
Yeah.
So it's not a clear message like that. It's just when I'm older, I have a real discomfort with being sad. I don't want to show people my emotions. I have a core belief somewhere in my being that if I cry in front of you, you're going to push me away and just want me to be all right. So I'll skip out that bit and show you I'm all right all of the time. And of course,
my God.
in the end, that makes you poorly.
Yeah.
In more ways than one, because you can't express, you need to be able to express authentically who you are.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that, going back to the example that you gave of just saying no when you don't want to do something, I think something that stops a lot of people from doing that is the guilt that they feel when they say that. But I want to use that as kind of a segue for you to explain something that we spoke about in our previous call of the difference between guilt and shame, and so people really understand what they're feeling. Mm-hmm.
So this originates, by the way, from the work of somebody called Alice Miller. Have you ever heard of Alice Miller?
Yes.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I have all the books.
She's
So
amazing.
She saved my life with a forgiveness thing that we'll talk later.
The drama of the gifted child, I think, is one of the greatest
Yeah.
books ever written, actually. But I believe it comes from her work. There's a couple of people. There's a guy called John Bradshaw that talked a lot about it, and then more recently, if you feel like you feel guilt when you say no to somebody, you have to have the understanding that guilt means I've done something bad, right? And shame says I am bad. So guilt says I made a mistake. Shame says I am a mistake. Guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am wrong. So you should always ask yourself that question. So if I think I feel guilty when I say no, I have to ask myself, have I done anything wrong? And the answer is no. So it's not guilt. I can't feel guilt because I haven't done anything wrong. Actually, what we often feel is a sense of shame. And of course we feel shame because we've lived a life where the way that we survived when we were children is to be what the person in front of us wanted and needed us to be. And so when we say no, we feel like we are bad, like we are wrong, like we are a mistake. Of course we feel like that because that's what our life experiences taught us. So healing is the overriding of that. The healing is to go in, how do I come back to myself and say my truth? And that's why the real work doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. Yeah. All of those things.
It's hard, but it's worth it. I always say that no matter how long it is, how hard it is, I say it because I am a survivor. It took me so long, but it's so worth it. To live your life from your authentic self. At least once in a while, you're going to even see the colors differently. You're going to hear the music in a different way. It's going to sound differently. The ice cream that you are eating is not going to taste as guilt or shame anymore. You're going to actually enjoy it. So it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's key for people to understand that difference because the more accurate we are with what's actually going on with us, I think the easier it is. I don't know if maybe easier is not the word, but then you really know what you need to dig into and what you need to do to change that. Because if you think that you're dealing with guilt and you're doing everything to heal this guilt, but you're actually feeling shame, it's maybe going to take you longer and you're not going to understand why certain things aren't working. It's confusing. So I love that you distinguish those two.
Yes.
And you're right, because what you've highlighted, like, let's just say the really simple example. Somebody wants you to come to a social event on Saturday. You don't want to come. So you say no. You feel guilty, right? So if you think it's guilt, you're thinking I've done something wrong. So I'm either going to have to lie to make it seem like it's not wrong, or I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go to the social event, right? But if you go, right, is this guilt? No. Okay, it's shame. So it's like, how do I remind myself I'm not a bad person for putting myself first?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the work is completely different. So it's like, okay,
exactly.
Right. So what I'm going to do on Saturday night now, I've said no. Actually, I'm going to really make sure that Saturday night, I do use Saturday night for myself. And I'm really going to do something that I want. I'm going to put on that movie. I'm going to, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do, but you're working on the shame rather than the idea that you've done something wrong.
Yes.
So you're exactly right. It's really important to know what you're actually trying to work with, and to work on. Yeah.
Yes, and it's the hard work that we were talking about that is worth it, that will help you to get there. Because yes, that work. Yes, because I went through so much guilt and shame in my life. I was dying. It was so heavy. And this hard work take you, I mean, helps you to go back to yourself, and then you can say, wait a minute, I know who I am. I know that I have a good heart. I know that I am not a mean person, that I want to hurt that person when I say no. I know I didn't do horrible things to my horrible parents. I know who I am. So that's what I wanted to say. That hard work that is worth it take you there little by little, but it takes you there.
Yeah. And it's a really good point, because, you know, what I'm hearing as well is that it also takes you away from the pain that you're in, right? Healing is hard work, but the reason it's worth it is because ultimately it's better than where you are. But like there's a saying that it's a bit of a crude saying, but
No, say it.
It can start to get comfortable and warm in your own shit. Yeah.
Yep.
So you need to get out of it. And I always think of, you know, people say it's not about it's not about running from the storm, but it's learning to dance in the rain or something like that.
Yeah.
I always like think of like an analogy. If there was a storm cloud just behind you, and you're running, and you've been running for so long so that it doesn't get you, you're tired, your bones are aching, your muscles are hurting, your legs, your feet, you just don't know. In the end, you're going to collapse soon if you just keep running to get away from it, because you're so terrified of this storm. But you don't realize that actually if you just stopped, you're going to get soaked. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit frightening, but then the cloud will pass and you don't have to run anymore. But
Exactly.
so many of us spend so much of our life running because we're so scared of the storm, that actually, as frightening and as hard as it is to be in the storm, that's the rite of passage to get your life back, you know, so that you're not running.
Yes. Yeah, well, you get a point that you have been running so much that you have no strength to keep running.
Exactly.
So you have to face it.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Okay, at that point.
Yeah, but they say, you know, one of the definitions of rock bottom, like where you hit your bottom, where you're ready to make change, is when the pain of where you are is now greater than the fear of what you need to do to change it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when that pain gets when, you know, you'll do it. When the pain's too much, you'll do it because you don't have a choice.
That is exactly what happened to me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. And now every time I have the cognitive dissonance or whatever, I go, who am I?
Yeah.
What is my heart? What is in my mind? What do I think? And then I know that I'm not trying to hurt someone. The opposite. I tried the opposite, and in the meantime, I almost died. So
Yeah.
So something that I would like to talk about is anger, because everybody talks about. Not everybody. It's very known, it's especially in social media, where the three of us are. That word everybody's so scared of. So I'm not scared of anger when you understand what it is. So there is a post you have I love that you said things that should make you angry when having toxic parents, for example.
Yeah.
One of them was abuse should make you angry. Anytime
that there's an injustice, anger is your friend, because anger is what motivates you to make sure that you create change. I think people make the mistake that anger is the same as like rage, but people who do crazy things with their anger are people who have never been able to express their anger in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you're able to let yourself be angry, like when I hear about abuse, like, I mean, if we're talking about somebody who's horribly abusive to their child and you don't get angry, you know, sometimes people say to me, yeah, I don't actually. What I do is I think, oh my God, what must have happened to them to make them be like that? That's my first thought. And I'm like, well, you need to work on that.
Yeah.
You need to work on that, because that shouldn't be your first thought. Your first thought should be anger. And then how do we get justice for this, you know? And I think that, again, particularly women, by the way, because boys
Oh,
boys are allowed to be angry. It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
it's very normal for boys to be angry. It's, you know, if if a 13-year-old boy got really angry, threw a chair and kicked the wall, punched the wall and walked out, right? People might be concerned for the 13-year-old boy, right? But you know, they'd go and calm him down, check he's all right, and then be all right, you know, be fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
If a young girl threw a chair, kicked a wall and punched the wall and walked out of the room, a 13-year-old girl, I think she would be sent to the doctors and everybody's saying
Yeah.
she's
Oh,
crazy.
yes.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
crazy, or
Yeah.
she might have her period,
Yeah.
or all
Unhinged,
kind
or
of
she's
shit.
unhinged. Yeah. That's like, but it's
Yeah.
ultimately not normal in the
No.
eyes of society. Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So look, particularly if you're a woman, but I think it's true for all of them. If you had a toxic parent, you were never allowed to be angry in moments when you really should have been angry.
Yeah.
You know, like where anger was the natural and human response, you had to keep it all in, and it doesn't go away. This is the key thing. It doesn't go away. So you've got to find a way to let it out. You've got to find a way to have healthy expressions of your anger. But the wellness space, the healing space online, I think, and I'll say it as I believe it to be, is full of people desperately trying to be lovable and using
Yes.
spirituality as their new way to be lovable. So
Exactly.
they make themselves pleasing, acceptable. They talk about, you know, letting go of everything and never being angry. And I see everyone through a love and light gaze. And I'm like, well, you fucking shouldn't see people through.
No.
No.
You shouldn't. There's a lot of bad shit going on in the world. And we should, you know, we need to see where it's coming from and call it out. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that anger and this toxic positivity play together a lot in society and the way that people talk about both things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good vibes only.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Royal family.
like a typical, yeah.
Yes.
The most normal thing is to feel angry about certain things, just like the most normal thing is to feel happy about others and excited and frustrated and confused. It's just another emotion that naturally comes up. And I don't know, what would you say to survivors that have been taught that their anger is wrong and that they shouldn't express it and they should keep it bottled up? How do they start expressing that without feeling shame, perhaps?
Yeah, well, they're gonna feel shame initially.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key thing. Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
know that makes sense that you feel shame, because that, you know, feels reasonable based on what you've experienced. But
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of different ways, from like sport to, I do breath work, right, where you get to scream at the end.
Yes.
Through finding ways to be able to vent, through finding ways to be able to be assertive when you feel like you need to to be assertive, um, finding ways to stand up for yourselves, take opportunities in your day-to-day life to be able to stand up for yourself. So if you see small opportunities where there's been a little bit of misjustice to you, being able to say, no, that's not okay. I'm not okay with
Yeah.
that, you know? And it's, again, this is like, in a lot of ways, I think it's about taking these little small steps.
Mm-hmm.
And just be wary of anybody online that's telling you that they don't get angry anymore,
Oh,
because
yeah.
something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
If you don't get, look, I'm sure there are a small proportion of people that really are that laid back that they don't get angry. There's
Yeah.
always a spectrum, yeah. But
Yeah.
most people that say they ain't getting angry are lying,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
to themselves, or to, at least to you.
Yeah,
You
or
know,
they're dissociated from it. Yeah, but it
dissociated
doesn't
from it,
mean
disconnected from it. Yeah, like I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, healthy anger's good.
Yeah. I get a lot, well, not a lot, but sometimes I get comments like, oh, you're angry. You haven't healed. Go to therapy.
Yeah.
And I say, what do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? My parents abused me when I was 5 years old, and no, I don't understand.
Well, that
So
is what they want. Sorry, just quickly before you go on.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is what they
yeah.
want you to do because they're running away
Yeah.
from their own anger. So
Exactly.
your anger makes them feel uncomfortable. So they
Yeah.
do. They want you to go, I just love them and I can forgive them. And it doesn't matter that they're still abusing me because I've done so much healing. I can just let people walk all over me now and I don't care. Like, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. That's
It's
fucking
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Leave it in the past. Anger makes you sick.
Yeah.
If you're angry, you are not healed. Many, many things.
Yeah. But,
Right.
and again, by the way, anger will make you sick if you keep it in. So the fact that you're
Yes.
expressing it, that's why it doesn't make you sick. Anger will make you sick. If you hold it all in and you're angry and you're like, no, I'm just fine. And it's okay that my parents are abusive to me. I'm not angry about it. I love them. Right? That's what will make you sick. What won't make you
Yep.
sick is freedom of expression, of expressing
Exactly.
the truth. Of like, if I feel anger in my body when I'm talking and expressing, I'm going to talk and express in my truth. I'm going to do it in my truth because that's my truth. Like,
Yes.
for better or for worse, that's my truth. But by the end of the day, I'm not going to be all tight and restricted and shouting at the dog because I've got so much anger in me and I've not let it go. I let my anger come out of me freely without harming people, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. Thank you
I
for that.
always love using the analogy of like holding a beach ball underwater.
Yes.
And you're just struggling so bad to hold that beach ball full of air under the water, and you're holding it and keeping it and stepping on it, and at some point you're gonna let go of the beach ball and it's gonna go flying up out of the water and maybe even hit you over the head when it comes back down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Not gonna be good.
There's no avoiding it forever. It's gonna come up at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
Why aren't more people angry about child abuse? This is insane.
This one baffles me a little bit. I mean, I try and find reasons
It makes me angry.
Yeah, it makes me angry. Like, I try and find reasons why why people seem to jump to defend the abuser. Why
Can't believe it.
you know, I was talking to somebody earlier and I said that if you went into like a massive mansion, but it was only dogs in there, right? And all the dogs in there were like, some of them were killing themselves, some of them were harming themselves, other dogs were fighting each other, loads of them were in the beds and just looked depressed and weren't getting out of their bed and all that stuff. You wouldn't walk in there and go, oh my God, these dogs have all got mental health problems, right? You wouldn't do that. You'd look around and you'd go, who's raising these dogs? Who's like in charge of these dogs? Like, what are you doing to them? That would be your first thought, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you walked into a mansion and same thing happened, but it wasn't dogs, it was all humans, like it is in our society, when you say who's raising them, we're all pointing fingers at ourselves. And because we're all emotionally inept and nobody wants to face the truth, we can't admit that dysfunction and abuse is at the heart of the problems that we see in our society, because then we're all culpable. And most people don't want to do the work. They don't want to go through the storm. They don't want to go through the fire. So we have to keep thinking of other reasons. When people point out the abuse, shut up. We don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to stop saying that, like, stop talking about how dysfunctional parents are causing so many issues in kids, because I'm a dysfunctional parent and I don't want to look at that. So stop it. So like, the more I look at it, the more I feel that, you know, you have like, you have abuse, and then behind abuse, if we look at toxicity, we all have toxic traits. Yeah.
Yes.
I could bring my kids in now. They'll tell you a bunch of things that they don't like about me. They'll tell you a bunch of things that I get really wrong as a dad, right? Now, I'd like to think that I could sit next to them, feel uncomfortable, hear them, and try and work on those things and improve them, and know at my core, I ain't a bad person. You know, I ain't a bad person. And like, you know, that's clear with you two. You can see that that's the case with you two. But I think that 90% of the people don't want to look at themselves. So when we go into that mansion full of humans, Like we go into that mansion, which actually represents society. Yeah. And we go in and we see that people are killing themselves, fighting each other, hurting themselves and can't get out of bed. When we say who the fuck is raising these people, we got to look at us.
Yes.
It's us. So we don't say
Yeah.
that. Someone goes, maybe they got a mental health problem. And we go, oh, that feels easier.
Yeah, that
feels
it's
easier.
their fault.
That feels easier. Yeah, okay. Let's get to work on making them the problem. Let's go and see these ones that are hurting themselves and tell them, poor you. Oh, this must be horrible to be you because look how broken you are, which is what society does. Because if we looked at the truth, we'd all have to look at ourselves, and people don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's rough. It's rough to live in a society like that.
It is.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we talk about that
We
all
talk
the
about,
time,
like,
you and
together.
Because
Yeah.
there was some, like you're a father, I'm a mother, I have 3 children, she's my daughter, I have 2 boys. I was raising this kind of family, I heard them. There was a moment when I was in the middle of my healing process, I heard them.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that at the beginning. They would sit down with me, Mom.
Like, we would have family meetings,
And
and we were children.
I wasn't ready to hear what they were
Yeah.
saying, because what I heard was, you're comparing me to my parents. They weren't doing that. It was in my mind. But then I start seeing it, and I put the fucking work. It was hard. I had to face it and say, okay, I make a mistake. I'm not the worst person in the world. I'm just going to fix it.
Yeah.
And I did.
Mm.
And now look where we are. It's worth it.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell people, because obviously I have the perspective of being a child of a survivor, and I always say the difference between you and them is taking responsibility and taking action to changing those things, because that is what they never did. So that, I mean, everyone will fuck up, everyone will make a mistake, and no matter how much work you put in, one day you just, for whatever reason, you make a mistake. That you can't avoid that.
Yeah.
But what makes the difference is you accept it, you take responsibility for it, and you take action to change it in the future.
Yeah.
And you repair.
You
Exactly.
repair. You repair.
And I sum up what you just said. Like, when you take responsibility and then take action, that is accountability.
Yeah.
And that's all we're talking about. Like, you don't you don't want your mum to be perfect. You don't need your mum to be perfect. You just need them to take accountability and have a sense and a feeling that they're working towards putting something towards the relationship to make it work. Nobody wants perfect parents. My kids don't, like, that's not what this is about. Nobody's asking for that. We're asking for accountability. We're asking for, when I say you hurt me when you did this, you go, fuck, that feels horrible for you to, like, that's hard to hear. Right.
Yeah.
But I get it. I can see, I can accept responsibility, and I'm going to do my best to change, and I'm going to take some accountability. That's it. And if we go back to the analogy that I just talked about with the dogs, and then the walking into the mansion, you walk into the mansion, you see what's going on with all the humans in there, and you go, fuck, man, what have we done?
Yeah.
What have we done, and how do we change this?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's the difference. And that's if only as a collective in our world, we all went, what have we done? There's a lot going on in the world at the moment. And when you see people talking about it, we still always go, I would never let that happen. And you did this. And it's like, we should all be going, what have we done?
Yes.
What have we done, and what do I need to do?
Yes.
Yeah. And what
That's
do
accountability.
I need to do?
Yeah. What have we done, and what do I need to do? Yeah.
2 important questions. Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of that, then, for the people who do want to put in the work, who obviously are here listening and they're trying to get better and take this accountability, how do we, start talking about this healing? And something that you mentioned was the breath work.
Yeah.
So how would
Body
breath
first.
work, this body first approach, which breath work is one example, to
And
start doing that. To
Yes.
start
I think
changing.
any intentional somatic practice, so when we say soma, as in somatic, it's any work of the body, right? That can look like breath work that gets you into your body. It can look like yoga. It can look like trauma release therapy. It can look like running, walking the dog, boxing, right? Whatever. Like all of these things that help us bring us into our body. Start to think about the fact that all of the emotions that you have pushed down into your body are still trapped in your body, and how do I get them moving and get them out? How do I get some of that tension out of my body so that I can get a little bit of space to truly start to explore who I am? And actually, like, if you look at what I talk about in the book, one of the first things that I get people to do when they're going through the book is actually have a look at your own stuff first. So you start there and you list all of the mistakes that you've made in your life. Yeah. And
Wow.
you do that because as a result of what you've experienced that initially wasn't your fault, yeah, you've probably gone on to do a bunch of things that either hurt you or hurt the people around you. And so it's like, right, let's clean up our side of the street, get that sorted, yeah, right? Then that's how self-compassion, because the only person you have to forgive is yourself, right? That's the only person you have to forgive. So self-compassion comes when I stop running away from all of the mistakes that I've made. So compassion for myself, if we think about guilt that we talked about earlier, it means that I've done something bad. Let me look at all of the things that I have done bad, all of the mistakes that I have made, list them, recognize where they come from, why was I acting in the way that I did? What you'll find normally is you were trying to be lovable, you were trying to feel something, you were trying to find connection. You'll see patterns very, very quickly. There's an exercise in the book to do it as well, by the way. Then once you've done that, you start to develop self-compassion for yourself, but it also means that you can look everybody in the eye. If there's people in my life that I want to have a relationship with, and in order for me to have a relationship with them, I need them to take some accountability, I can go to them and look them in the eye and say, here's everything I know about myself. Here's what I'm doing to be accountable. Can you give me a small piece of accountability? If not, then maybe the relationship's untenable. And that's not just with your parents, that's with every relationship in your life, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I guess I would say where to start. Buy my book and start to work in the book.
For sure. Oh yeah.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Buy this. This is amazing.
And it's in Spanish, which
There's
is
one in
amazing,
Spanish.
not-
Look, it's actually behind him.
That's the
Here,
Spanish one.
guys. Este es el en español. No eres tú, son ellos. Una guía para liberarte de tus padres tóxicos, reconectar con tu niño interior y reclamar tu propia vida.
Woo!
Okay? We have
Josh
it in English,
Connolly.
we have it in Spanish.
There you go.
Go buy it. Amazon. You have it in 5 minutes.
Well, in the United States, yes.
Here in 5 minutes.
We call it Prime Now. It's just
Prime
like
Now,
Prime
yeah.
Now.
It's
You have it
crazy
right
how
now.
quickly that it gets there, isn't it?
So-
I always joke that sometimes I feel like a parcel's just turned up and I haven't even ordered it yet. I just thought about it. And like I thought about this
Yes.
parcel this morning. It's here. So how is that here?
Oh my
Yes,
God.
it is very.
It's a little
but
crazy.
tell us a little bit about the breath work that you do.
Yes.
Yeah. So look, I think the breathwork that I do is
What is that?
so when people think of breathwork and they think what I mean is like calm breathing in and out through your nose. Like breath work is slightly different. You're doing a deep, experimental and experiential practice with deep breathing. In my case, with the stuff that I do through the mouth, and it's all connected. So you're taking these deep breaths of filling your body up with air and then letting it go, staying connected with it. And if you do that for a period of time, it basically drops you down into your body. So your head switches off and you're in your body, and you shake and it brings out, you'll cry uncontrollably, and you do a lot of big release, and you get to let a lot of stuff go, and it like can sound really, really scary, and it isn't for everybody. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
that. But the experience can be incredible when it's safe. When the experience is done safe, it can be incredible.
But what happens in your body with this technique?
So scientifically, it's about like over oxygenating your body, and there's like the carbon dioxide drops. But I've always stayed away from too much of the science because I like the mysticism
Okay.
in it all. And
Yeah.
I'm very much like, I think sometimes our head's the problem, and actually
Yeah.
just let my
Yeah.
body, it makes me shake. I feel lighter after it. I release a lot of emotion and I feel a sense of freedom and clarity. I sometimes don't want to ruin it with the Western science behind it and just be like, actually, let me enjoy the ritual.
Yeah.
You know
fair
what?
enough.
That is so true. And that makes me think about this, a similar thing that happens to me now watching movies and shows. Like after knowing everything that I know, it's like I can't stop but analyze everything. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it just takes a certain beauty out of things.
Yeah.
So I love that you just keep it just at what it is,
Natural.
natural, and just let yourself, or let the people that you're working with in the breath work just experience it without really knowing what's going on. I do think there's a beauty in that.
If you think of all of the good things that have really brought human beings together throughout the history of society, most of them end up getting ruined by dogma, by our need for certainty. So take any religion, yeah, when it first
Yeah.
started, let's just take Christianity as one that most people sort of understand, right? And for a
Mm-hmm.
moment, forget anything that you believe about religion or not, but when religion first came about, it was like people came together under this shared belief that there's more, right? That there's something higher out there. And then
Yes.
then there was stories written about it and concepts put together, and there was this air of mysticism, right? This like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like something else is driving it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. But as soon as
Yes.
humans get together and they stop liking uncertainty, what comes in is dogma. Yeah. You see it in the spiritual space today. All of the things that we've just talked about are dogma. Yeah. It should
Mm-hmm.
be like, you're healing. Are you healing? Yeah, yeah, I'm feeling good, healing in my own way. Amazing. But we don't do that. We go, are you healing? Yeah, but you're still angry, so it's not healing. It's like, no, that's dogma, right? Like, let's
Yeah.
keep an air of uncertainty. Let's keep an air of like, when I feel most free in my life today is when I wake up and I go, you know what? I'm only ever going to know very, very little about this world, right? But I'm gonna have a fun today exploring it. Yeah, I'm gonna have some
Yeah.
good conversations, right? I'm
I
gonna not
love
make
that.
myself knowledgeable, and I'm almost gonna wake up every day with the firm belief that I could be wrong about everything that I've ever believed. And let me approach the world in that way. Let me maybe see if everybody else is right and challenge myself. And I'll either further deepen my beliefs because I'll try and, I'll listen to what you've got to say and then try and make it right and try and make myself wrong. And if I can't make myself wrong, then I'm even more right. So that's a win. Or I'll get a new idea and a new belief, and that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I try and live by that as much as I can. I even like, I do a lot of reading, and I try to make sure that every third book I read is a book of somebody that I don't like or triggers me, so that I can,
Oh,
that I've had some
Oh
big
my
experiences doing that. Yeah,
God.
yeah, that's
interesting.
super interesting when you do that.
Like let me
I-
let me get pissed off today. Let me just connect with my anger today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so what you start to realize though is you're not so sure about what you believe because you go,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make this person wrong, yeah. So you're
Yeah.
reading it
Yes.
and you're like, yeah, that's wrong, that's stupid, and then you're like, this is
Maybe
hard.
he's right.
Is this bit right? Like, and then
Mm-hmm.
Is this bit
you
right?
need to you
Yeah.
need to challenge yourself. You're like,
Oh
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
yeah, do you know what I mean? So it's yeah,
I
it's
love
fun.
that.
It's
Yeah.
I don't
I
always
really
make
like
it all the
that.
way through the books. Sometimes I
Yeah.
get like a quarter of the way and I'm like, I hate this person so much. And like, I already know that I don't agree with anything that they say at all. And we're
Yeah.
Oh
so
my
far apart. And
God.
then I stop reading it. Yeah.
I know where to start then.
Oh my
Family
God.
constellation. Let's buy the book
Oh my
tomorrow. Oh my
God.
God.
No,
Okay.
but yeah. But
Like, no. Oh
yeah.
my God.
No, and what you were talking about too, it's almost like it's steering away from this like analytical black and white
Yeah.
thinking and connecting with your intuition. That's what I was getting with that,
Mm.
which connecting with your intuition, you can't do that in a horrible family. It's like, yeah,
No.
there is this automatic survival mode,
It's just survival.
but your true intuition, like your true self, what your body really is telling you is dangerous and what it's really telling you is safe, you have to disconnect from that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of what you're talking about is reconnecting with that intuition and just like getting rid of the noise.
Yeah. And rigid black and white thinking, you know, that's what the rules are in a dysfunctional house. They're normally rigid and black and white and don't really serve any other purpose than to protect the people at the top of the dysfunction, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you lose the mysticism, the joy of the world, right? The world stops
Yes.
being this big, open, vast space for you to go and explore, and it starts becoming very small, scary, and you almost get caught up in needing the certainty of rigidity, you know? So, for example, in a healthy home or a more functional home, whatever that means, if so let me say, like in my house, yeah, if I come home and I'm moody after work and I'm not very nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
My daughter should be able to say the next day, you were horrible last night. You weren't very nice, right? But in most dysfunctional homes, rather than the parents go in, yeah, you're right, I was a nightmare last night, sorry. Most parents will go, I thought you loved your dad. So then you start to, it equates to, oh, if I'm angry with somebody, it means I love them less, right?
Yeah.
Because that's dysfunctional. So you have these real rigid ideas. I can't feel let down by somebody that I love because then it means I love them less, which is,
Yeah.
of course, not true. I can feel
Yeah.
desperately let down by somebody that I deeply love. But most people can't have those two seemingly contradicting emotions exist. And we crave rigidity. Let me fully understand it. That's safe. I know where the walls
Yeah.
are. Dumb. I don't have to worry. Predictable, easy, you know, all of that stuff. But can we come back to our intuition? Can we come back to this expansive world that's something that I want to go out and explore, you know? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to talk about something. Because you called it the healthy empathy. Remember that when you grow up in this type of systems, you are empathetic. So be careful with that, right? So what does healthy empathy look like when you're dealing with parents who weaponize your compassion?
There's a saying, and I forget who it comes from, that says empathy without boundaries is self-destructive, right? So if you just see everybody through the lens of love and light and you justify every one of their behaviors, you're going to get hurt by a lot of people. And so empathy is like, again, it kind of lends itself to what we were just saying, but it's about having the duality of things, right? I can say, I know why you're like that. It's clearly from your childhood, and it's not okay around me. It's not okay for you to act like that around me. I don't care where it comes from. It's not okay for you to act like that around me. Like, and it's your responsibility, if you want to be around me, to be around me within those boundaries, you know?
Yes.
And even then, when I say it, that can sometimes make it a little bit too fixed. But when it's been so far the other way, when all you do is just love people no matter what, and you know, that's really, it's, I would say it's dangerous, you know, and you open yourselves up to abuse when you just offer empathy without any boundaries, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it becomes self-abandonment.
Yeah, and justification.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't, like, your empathy, you shouldn't be using your
Excuses.
empathy, to excuse somebody's behavior or to justify their behavior, right? It might be the reason, right? It's great to have a deep empathy. I feel like I've got a deep empathy, right? Like I can see even toxic people. I have enough empathy to see the reason why they are like they are.
Yeah.
And I've got enough boundaries and self-compassion and compassion for the people that are harmed to go, I can see why you're like you are, but you ain't doing anything about it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not okay. Like it's not
Exactly.
okay. So yeah, it's, you know, one of the best ways to start to build boundaries, by the way, is to like, especially with your parents, is you can make a list of all of your rights within a relationship with your parent.
Oh.
So
Wow.
make a list of your rights, like I have a right to not be around you when you're drinking, right? Say that
Uh-huh.
you have a parent that you feel drinks too much. I have a right to not be around you when I'm drinking, right?
Yeah.
I have a right for you to not be aggressive in front of my children.
Mhm.
I have a right for you to not talk about um, your partner who was abusive when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid,
Yeah.
right? And you make a list of all of these rights, and then that helps you to get clear on your boundaries. Because what often happens is we'll be like, so let's take that first boundary that I said, I have a right to not be around you when I'm drunk, when you're drunk. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes if you haven't got clear on your rights, you might be like, when they start drinking, you might be like, I'm going to go if you drink. And they're like, oh, why are you being like that for? What, are you trying to tell me what to do? No, I just, like, when you're drunk, you're horrible, and you see this argument ensues. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've got clear on your rights, your boundaries become easier. I have the right to not be around you when you're drinking because I don't like the way that you are. So it's okay if you're going to drink, it's okay, but you need to leave. Or if you're at theirs, I'm going to leave. It's not
Yeah.
that, you know, it's not my business to stop you drinking, but I have the right to not be around you when you're drinking. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
your boundaries become easier. You're being aggressive around the kids. I have the right to take my kids away when you're being aggressive. So you've been aggressive. I'm going to take them away. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow when you've had the opportunity to calm down. When we're clear on our rights, we can be more firm with our boundaries. And all of those boundaries, you know, are perfectly acceptable. And boundaries look different for different people. You might not
Yes.
mind, you might not mind your parents being around your kids when you're drunk, when they're drunk. And by the way, you don't have to explain your boundaries.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to
Okay,
explain your
we
boundaries.
come back to the justification, over explanation that we get when you grow up in this type of system. You have
Yeah.
to over explain, over.
Exactly. And so then, by the way, when you do that, like that practice, and it's sort of like quite a big practice when it's with your parents, you can then lend those things to other aspects of your life. So like another boundary that I like is if I do go to an event, I don't want to lift with anybody. I don't want you to give
Mm.
me a lift there because I like to have my own car there so that I know that I can leave whenever I want to leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have the right to leave a social event whenever I want to leave. Is a right
Oh
for
yeah.
me. Yeah. So I know that. So when people say, "Do you want to lift?" I say, "No, it's fine. It's cool." No, because I just like to be able to leave when I want to leave. Oh, but are you not going to stay till late with all of us? I might do, but I also have the right to go home at 8 o'clock if I want. You know,
Yes.
I'm clear on some of my rights. You know, because
Yeah.
I get clear on them. And what you find
Yeah.
is some people will be upset by them. And
Yep.
some people will be like, Josh, I just love that you left at 8 o'clock last night because I went just after you, and like you leaving gave me permission to do that. And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I did that thing for myself and I am likable. And it was literally just who I am. That's completely
Yes.
different to staying till 1 o'clock in the morning and having 8 people go, "You're brilliant. You stayed till 1." And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want to. You don't know who I am.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
one person says, I thought it was really cool that you left at 8 because that's what I did as well in the end, then you're like,
Yeah.
you've got true connection over 10 bits of fake connection, you know? And that can
Yes.
start from that. Getting clear on your rights, getting clear what's
And
okay
that's
for
what
you.
we want. True
For
connection,
sure.
please. Because that's something that you also lose when you grow up like this. You start making connections from a trauma, from trauma.
Mm-hmm.
In the healing process, when for example, you already don't have connections with your parents, you have established zero contact, then the circle starts opening more and more, and oh, I have these friends for my whole life, and I don't really have a true connection. It is she's mean to me, and so you start seeing seeing it in other relationships.
It's
But
one
I
of the
wanted-
hardest. It's one of the hardest things. Just quickly, it's one of the hardest things.
Yes,
what
yes,
you've
yes,
just
yes. No.
described. It's one of the hardest things about the beginning of the healing journey, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
because you've been the way that you are all of your life because you're terrified of people leaving, right? And people
Exactly.
not loving you. And when you finally become yourself, what you'll find is most people do the very thing that you've been terrified of your whole life, which is abandon you
Yep.
because they were only around because you had no boundaries. And now you've started healing and
Yes.
laying the boundaries and they're all going. And it can
Yes.
feel so wrong, right? And the easy thing to do in that moment, the easiest thing to do would be just go back to being boundaryless. So they all come
Yep.
back into
Yep.
my life and I get all of them. That's the easy option. That's why healing's hard because everyone
Exactly.
leaves and then you've got to rebuild, you know?
Exactly. And
Mhm.
that is what I'm going through actually right now. This is my vulnerable moment of
Mhm.
I feel that I was always the person who initiated everything, that was taking care of the relationship, calling, sending details, always there. But who in the world fucking calls me to say, "Hey, how are you doing today?"
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody. And I feel lonely right now, but I'm okay with it because I'm not gonna go back. I'm not gonna do that anymore.
Mm,
Enough.
yeah.
Something that I wanted to add when you said I have the right to, you can go up to I have the right to take you out of my life completely.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be your mother, it could be your father, your sister, your brother. You can have the right to make that decision as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have the right to do what's right for you, whatever that looks
Exactly.
like and however uncomfortable it makes other people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
And I just wanted to add to circle. Really, this is kind of circling everything that we've talked about.
Mhm.
That understanding your rights, what you have the right to, is an antidote to that guilt and shame that we were talking about. Because as soon as you understand that you have the right to do something or to feel something or to act a certain way, to say something, you don't feel guilty or shameful of it anymore because you
Yeah.
understand that you had the right.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
let me tell you something, Josh. When again in my healing process, when I started understanding things, I wrote a quote because I write. I have the right to have the right.
Mm. Yeah.
I have the right to have the right because you have no idea that you have rights
Yeah.
Yeah.
of any kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in this house, this is what we're gonna do. In this house, this is how you're gonna think. In this house, otherwise you are punished in different
Mhm.
ways. So
Yeah.
you have never questioned you have any kind of right. So that's why when I understood that is you have the right to have the right.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. 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 And sounds so simple, doesn't it? When you say it
Yeah.
like that, it sounds so simple. And, you know, in many ways, a lot of what we're talking about is simple. That doesn't mean it's easy, actually.
Mhm.
It's really,
Exactly.
really hard, right? But a lot of it is, you know, we can overcomplicate it. But it's in the end, we're talking about, like you say, you know, circling everything that we said. How do I just come back to doing what's right for me? Like, how do I find myself again? You know, you only get one shot at this life, as far as we know.
Exactly.
So how do you live it for you? You know, that's
Yes.
you know, and ultimately, that's the job of any parent. If there's a job of any
Yes.
parent, it's not to make you successful. It's not to make you rich. It's to get you
Mhm.
to a place that when you leave the home, you know who you are and you live your life the best you can for you. So
Yes.
it is you know, that's the job of a parent. And then healing
Yes.
is doing everything that our parents didn't manage to do for us for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, that's why people say to me, what should I do as a parent um, to make sure that my children don't need to heal from their childhood? And I'm like, give up on the fact that your children won't need to heal from their childhood, because they will. If you can get to a place that when your kids are adults, when they're really struggling and they're starting to work on themselves, maybe they go to a therapist, maybe they go to a fucking shaman or whatever, and they start to realize some of the things that you did has caused them pain. If they can pick up the phone and ring you, say, I'm working on some stuff, I'd love for you to come and look at it with me, then you've passed. That's how you be a successful parent. It's not, listen, I'm sure parents do get their kids to adulthood without them ever having to do any kind of healing. But if you've had any kind of dysfunction when you were a child, some of it will not come out until you're parenting. So you can't even prepare yourself for it, right?
Yeah.
It will come out when you're parenting. And, like testament to you two as well, like to see you two both sat there, doing the work and doing it together and being able to do it in that way. Like, I'm not just saying it because I'm in front of you, but this is how you break this is how generational curses stop, because the next generation, if you go on to have children, they're going to have to do less and less and less until maybe in a couple of generations, you know what I mean? You're going to have kids that don't even have any idea what dysfunction means and how amazing that will be. And it started here.
Oh my God.
Started here,
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Josh. I'm emotional right now. Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think we're doing something right.
Of course.
Right? We're trying our best.
All we can do is try.
Yeah.
Just try our best.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, thank you so much for this conversation, for sitting here with us today, for explaining all these super important details. And even though it sounds simple, it really is what we need to focus on and what we need to do. I don't know. I'm like at a loss for words. It's just
Thank you.
Just thank you.
I feel like we need a big hug. I'm not there.
I
so
know.
I
wish. Hopefully one day we will have a studio where we can actually be.
What studio? I'm going to see him somewhere.
Go film where the people are. Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Where do people find you? Well, we're going to put everything in the description. They will find you. They will sign up for your things. They are going to buy this book because I say so. Buy the book. And we're going to put every link in the description. Please, if you want to talk to Josh or join his workshops, or he has a bunch of things, please go to the description.
Yes.
Busquen a Josh, por favor. Vámonos.
Por favor.
Thank you.
Yes. And always remember, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us how you liked this episode. If you have any questions, we'll always answer them below. And
share it.
Share. Download the episodes.
Everything.
Yes.
Please.
We are gonna...
Don't hang up.
Don't hang up. This is fake.
Thank you, everyone. We love you so much. See you next Sunday.
Next
Domingo.
Sunday, yes. Hasta luego. Thank you, Josh.
Hasta luego.